Arnell, what's your biggest fear?
By now, falling off this thing.
Tell you what, if there's one thing that you're going to be remembered for, it's not going to be the way that you ride a camel.
But this is so fucking uncomfortable.
The view from here is not pretty, I'll tell you that.
Sir, could we go slower maybe? Yeah, a bit little slower.
Slow?
Bro, this is scary.
How are you doing?
Bro.
Welcome to the podcast studio. We're out here in Dubai, so you know we had to get the camels. Arnell, what's the biggest hump you've overcome in business?
Well, just doubting myself, I think, was a big thing. And being scared to think bigger and believe I can do more, basically. Sir, could we go slower maybe? Yeah, a bit little slower.
Slow?
Yeah, just a little bit slower. It's okay? Thank you.
The camel's too fast for you, what?
Bro, this is scary. So, building a $3 million agency for you, what was the big thing that you had to overcome?
I think being able to have a fully remote team and still deliver quality work is one of the biggest things. Because we have a team based all around the world, multiple different countries, South America, countries in Europe, Philippines. So being able to connect everyone together and actually deliver very good quality work and keep clients for years is a belief I had to break for sure. So Arnell, you have worked with clients like Montblanc, Radisson, Seamless AI, but you moved your business to Dubai. I have a question. Did you feel that moving to Dubai led you to have more ambition or increase the pressure that you couldn't fail?
I'd say 100% moving to Dubai did help me get more ambition. I think I was very hungry from where I come from either way, but something about Dubai and the environment and people it accumulates, or the type of people that come here to build business and getting around those people was the biggest change for me. There's a certain type of energy here that doesn't exist from where I came from in Sweden. So just surrounding myself with people like you and the group that we have did a lot for me, not only in ambition, but also in what is possible for myself. I think I had a lot of limiting belief before I got here in, what is possible with an agency in service delivery. How much you can charge clients was the big thing for me as well. And that's what I learned from a lot of you guys and the people that you meet here in Dubai. So for yourself, you of course run a $3 million agency. You moved from Spain. What was the big thing for you when you moved to Dubai? Did you notice a difference in ambition or?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very easy to become one with your environment. If you live in a place where it's very laid back and relaxed and success isn't encouraged, then you automatically fall into that mindset if you give yourself enough time. So being in Dubai and seeing the huge buildings, the cars, a lot of people think it's superficial, but it's also the people you meet. And it's the level that different people are operating on. You think that you're doing well, but then you come to Dubai and you meet people who are operating on a completely different level, and it really just opens your mind to what's possible. And you realize that you've been thinking small all this time. And I think that's one of the biggest shifts you can make in running a business and building a company is as soon as you start thinking small and limiting your thinking and start going backwards, then I think that's when you start losing. Arnell, what's your biggest fear?
By now, falling off this thing. Other than that, I'd say I had a lot of irrational fears scaling the agency and how to approach a service agency and running a business in general. One of those fears was the types of team members that we could hire. I was always afraid to ask more from our team because I thought that I had a completely different expectation on my colleagues since I didn't come from a corporate background. So I didn't know what to expect and if I could even be allowed to have high expectations. And that was a very rational fear. Asking more from team members. That turned around when I started engaging with enterprise clients and seeing how they operate internally. That gave me the real corporate experience on how high-performing teams are performing. And I'd say that was a big flip for me, just asking more from team members and employees, and asking more from clients as well. I was always afraid to ask from clients for them to follow up and deliver what they have committed to. I was afraid to charge more, which then of course hindered me from being able to hire better people naturally. So how about yourself? What was the biggest fear that you had?
The fear of being mediocre. It's definitely what drives me today still as well. I think just the fear of living a mediocre life has always driven me to push and do more and take risk, because I've taken a lot of risk and I still do take a lot of risk. And yeah, I think the thing that's driving me the most is the fear of being mediocre. Arnel, after working with clients like Montblanc, Radisson Hotels, what's one thing you want to be remembered for when you die?
That's a difficult question. That's a big one. Remember
is it too
for
deep?
When I die. I mean, I'd say this answer will definitely change year by year. I still don't have a family. I think my answer will be completely different when I have a family. But what I'd say at this point is I want to be remembered for leaving a positive impact on the world, not only from a business standpoint, as in generating money or creating jobs. That's amazing. But I want to be remembered for leaving a positive impact. So if I can help even a handful of people have a better life, I'd say that's a pretty good thing to be remembered for. But it's a difficult question, it's an ambiguous answer, but I'd say leaving a positive impact.
I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that you're going to be remembered for, it's not going to be the way that you ride a camel.
But this is so fucking uncomfortable.
The view from here is not pretty, I'll tell you that.
My thighs are hurting. I think the saddle is all wrong. But I'll survive. I think that's what you have to be, a survivor. And I think we're surviving right now.
I know, building an agency that works with enterprise clients, how much of your success do you put down to luck?
My view on luck is that luck is a target that every person has. And you can expand your target if you expose yourself more. So getting out there and actually doing something, taking chances, gambling with opportunities is how you increase your target of luck. So the way I've seen it is that I've tried a lot of things. I've done and taken risks that most people wouldn't. And I think that's increased my target for luck. And I think I've been hit by luck a lot of times, which has led me to get these types of clients. So yeah, working with enterprises, I would definitely attribute that to a level of luck. How about yourself? You're running a $3 million agency. That's not a small thing. Like, how much would you attribute that to luck?
I would say a lot of it, but I would say you also create your own luck. You put yourself in situations where you can take advantage of luck. You know, you prepare, you learn, you expand your knowledge, you take risks, and then luck does come your way. I think the universal God, or whatever you want to call it, it favors you when you take risks, and when you go after big goals, then luck naturally comes your way. So Arnel, you work a lot, but what's one thing outside of work and outside of business that you think is critical for having success in business?
I think running a business, it's a personal development journey in itself. Like, you go through so many issues, so many problems and stress, and you learn a lot. Also, just engaging with as many people as we do, between clients, team members, and the network that you're building, you learn a lot about yourself. And I think going into business and succeeding, you really do realize that you have to reimagine yourself as a person. Stress tolerance increases over time. Risk tolerance increases over time. And if it's one thing I would attribute to growing further and succeeding more, it's just keep taking risks. If you ever stop taking risks and you're like, I'm happy where I'm at, like, you will stop there, and that's your cap. Yeah. How about yourself? Like, what's the thing in your personal life that you think is important for you to move forward, build more?
I think having a circle of friends and family that are supportive, because you go through a lot, And I think, especially if you're a solo founder, you need someone to speak to. You need someone to share what you're going through, and you need outside perspective. Whether you decide to take that outside perspective on board and not, or use it, it doesn't matter, but having a sounding board is extremely important. That's why I think having co-founders is great. You also learn a lot as a single founder. But yeah, I think that outside circle and support is key. So after you've overcome that hump, how do you feel?
I feel like we probably shouldn't do that again, probably ever. No, the thing had flies on it, and to shoo him off, it hit me with the head in the knee. I'm like, but I was so distracted by just surviving.
So what's the riskiest decision you've made that actually paid off?
It was definitely moving to Dubai. So the backstory is that the business was just starting to make some revenue, some very light revenue in Sweden. And I knew that there was potential, and I knew that I didn't want to wait around for things to look better. And I made a decision to move to Dubai because I knew that's a place where I'll have the most opportunity to grow. Between taxes and between meeting people and networking and just being in a more energetic place, I knew that was going to make a big difference. So I made a move, even though I had literally no money, just jumping from hotel to hotel, living on discounted hotel rooms, before things actually started working out. And fortunately they did. I attribute that a lot to luck. That was the biggest risk, and it meant that today we work with the biggest enterprises in B2B SaaS in the US. We're doing great, we have a great team, and we're building a company together. So
yeah, we're building a software company. And I think that's what I was saying, like you create your own luck by putting yourself in those situations. And I think the fortune favors the brave, favors those that are willing to take risks. Yeah, not really sure about my look here, but this thing suits you a lot better. You look like more than natural.
You look like a ninja.
I clearly look like
a clean ninja.
Look like more like a nun than anything else, I think.
All right, so we obviously work a lot, and if you don't do it right, like it's a cocktail for catastrophe. How do you avoid burnout?
I think burnout comes from working on something that doesn't give you purpose, because you feel like you're just working and there's no end in sight, there's no fulfillment. So all you see is that you have to wake up and work, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up and work, and you don't see the why. If you have a strong why and a purpose, then it pulls you towards the work. It's almost like is it push or pull? Mm-hmm. Right? Push is like you have to do it. Yeah. Pull is you get to do it.
You look forward to it.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important to, at least for me, to have areas of work where I know that I'm doing good for others, and that we're actually creating something that is going to positively impact whoever receives, if it's a marketing service, if it's software, so it's actually good, mm-hmm. Right? And there's a lot of people maybe working on things that they don't truly believe in. That's when I think you get into burnout.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that the big one is what you said, is like, if it's a push that you have to do every day, and you have to force yourself to do something that for some reason you're not being fulfilled doing, or just don't want to do, and you do that on days on end, yeah. That's going to drain you. Versus doing something that fulfills you, it's the opposite effect. Rather than being drained, it makes you more excited, more energetic every day. And you know that you have something that fulfills you, that pulls you when you can't go to bed because you just want to keep going at it. And you can't wait to get out of bed to keep doing it. And that's, I think, what I'm experiencing with, of course, at Loudface, but I found a newfound fulfillment working at what we do at Yander.
Do you think that you constantly need to be pushing the boundary and constantly be working on something bigger? Like if you're, like, I know both of us are driven by ambition, success, building something, but one thing that I've found is that when you have something a lot bigger and the challenge is much greater and the impact can be so much larger, you are pulled to work on that even more than smaller things. Mm-hmm. Do you find the same thing? Maybe some people, they'd rather work on the small thing and be more comfortable, but what have you found?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a universal thing but I don't think we operate well. Maybe I speak for you, but I don't think I operate well going and working on something smaller than I did before. And you can quantify smaller to whatever you think makes sense for you, whether that's less money or a smaller mission, or if the thing that you're working on could help less people. But working on something bigger is definitely what's the next step, and what fulfills me at least. Something about the mission being grand, something about the mission being ambitious excites me. And I think it's a challenge. It's like, that at least in our case, and if anyone watching has built a business that's been successful, you know that you can do it. You probably went into that thing thinking, this is ambitious. Like building a profitable business, now that you know that you can do it, I think the horizon for possibility expands, and you start looking at things that the younger you would think was never even in the scope of possibilities, and now you're actually looking forward to cracking it, getting it done. Yeah. I think that's what excites me.
I spoke to a mentor of mine recently, and he told me that you're going to put the same amount of effort into any business that you run, so you may as well put effort into something that's going to be huge. Mm-hmm. And it's true. We love to work. It gives us purpose, it gives us fulfillment. And if you're going to spend 12 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week working, it's better to work on something big, even if it takes longer to build, than working on something small. And to your point, I think in our position, building marketing agencies, it's easier to start, easier to get into, lower risk, but that sets the foundation and the baseline for the next thing you do, and the next thing you do after that, and the thing after that.
Yeah.
And challenging yourself to think bigger is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's much easier said than done, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. If you build something great and you just want to go at it, that's fine, because I know people that want to just keep working on what they're working on, but just make it bigger, just expand and evolve it. But if that ever becomes monotone, maybe you're craving a bigger challenge, something that's novel or something that's uncomfortable. I do think that we get bored, and we do get maybe drained by working within comfort for too long.
Yeah.
I think that's where the push comes, because it becomes monotone. Changing to something novel and something ambitious is that excitement. And I think as humans, we're explorers. We want to test, get into a new environment, new challenge. I think we have to have that if we're going to feel fulfilled.
I think there's an element of dopamine as well. When you start working on something new, you get a dopamine hit. Mm-hmm. That dopamine wears off, and that's when you're challenged. That's when it's like, okay, now that the fun is over, right, so to speak, and when it comes down to more boring stuff, are you willing to do it?
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong. Doing the boring stuff is what running a business is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you wake up and do exciting, fun games every day. It's boring, monotone stuff. But what you're doing that monotone stuff for, what is the end goal, is the pull. That's where the pull comes from. So for example, us building Yander, it's not the most fun thing in the world, building an algorithm day in and day out. But seeing the results from our beta testers and our users is the fun part. And knowing that eventually we're going to have a big amount of companies, a big user base that is going to find a lot of value in the tool. Eventually, growing quite big, and hopefully having a big user base and solving a problem we know is very difficult to solve. That's the excitement, and that's what makes the monotone day-to-day programming and marketing for this tool so exciting. That's what creates the pull. You, of course, started Haze as a solo founder, but we're now co-founding Yander. What is important for you when choosing a co-founder?
Choosing co-founders is like getting married. I think radical honesty and transparency is the key. Without that, it's going to be difficult to build a company together. Yes, there's other qualities you can talk about, but I think it all comes down to that. That is the baseline foundation. If you have that radical transparency and honesty, where I can go to you and say, hey, what you just made is shit. Or you can come to me and say, hey, why are we not getting enough customers? What is the problem? I'm not going to take that wrong. I'm just going to be like, here's why. And then we'll find a solution. And I feel like, I'm not married, but the people that are married, what they've told me is that you need that. It's the same thing. Because if you're going to build a life together, a business together, that radical honesty and transparency is the key. I
probably talk the most with you than I do with any other person every day. We send endless messages on Slack. We hop on random Slack huddles. We have weekly meetings. We do content together. And if you're going to spend that much time with a person, like you say, you have to be honest with a person. You have to be comfortable being honest with a person. What you don't want to look for is a person that deflects, a person that takes it personally. And at the end of the day, you also want to work with someone that you enjoy being with.
Sure.
If you're going to spend that much time together.
it's what Richard Branson says, right? Like if you're gonna do the work anyway, so you may as well make it more fun. That's why we're out here filming content with camels, because rather than just sitting on a sofa or a podcast studio filming content, why not come to the desert in Dubai and do it here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people, like co-founders of billion-dollar companies, where they say that they spend more time with their founders than anyone else, than their families,
and their wife.
So you really need to choose wisely.
When choosing a co-founder, it's also important having qualities such as someone just being fun to be with, and them being skilled, them being honest. It's not the same as having a trust between each other. So, for example, I trust Jordan with the life of the company. Like, I trust Jordan deeply, and that trust gives me calm. Waking up every morning, working on this thing, knowing that if things go to hell, I know that I can trust Jordan to do the right thing, and Jordan can trust me to do the right thing. If you don't have the trust in your co-founder, it's not worth building a business together that, you know, could one, bankrupt you, two, drive you mad because it includes so much work, and three, if it comes to success, like, can you trust that person to carry that success with you? That's a big one too. There's so many scary stories about co-founders going behind each other's backs and all kinds of stuff.
So I think the radical honesty and transparency builds trust. It's the thing that helps build the trust. Of course, I think also going into business with someone who you've known for a few years as well, like we've known each other for a few years before starting the company. You know, we both had the opportunity to go into business with someone else who we really just met. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And you were like, let's not do it because these are the red flags. And, you know, in hindsight, you made the right call. And I think also as founders, just like when you're married, you fill each other's gaps. You basically have different strengths. Because if we're two marketing guys or we're two developers, like, okay, that will only get us so far.
Yeah.
But if someone's a bit more technical, someone's a little bit more marketing, someone likes to be forward facing a little bit more, someone likes to operate in the shadows, like those kinds of yin and yangs, I think are also important when you look for co-founders.
Yeah. I mean, I heard all kinds of advice when it comes to what skills is to look like and the split of skills for co-founders. And it's like, there's one part that says it should be, you know, marketers, and then you hire devs. One says it should be only devs, and then you outsource marketing. Yeah. And then there's a camp that says you should have a split between both. And that's what I agree with, because I worked with Loudface. We work with a lot of enterprises in the US in B2B SaaS, and I've seen a lot of companies go down the route of only being product-led and only having devs and designers on the team, and it takes them years before they even get any traction commercially. So obviously, if they had a co-founder that was on more on the marketing end, that shouldn't have taken years for them to realize that commercial viability is something they need to have control over. But in our case, we're running both from day one. From day one, we're building. From day one, we're marketing. I think that's a perfect blend.
Beyond the radical honesty, transparency, what's one of the raw traits, one of the more hard traits that you see? I know that, for example, one of mine is, does the person just put in the work? Like, do they just put in the hours? Because building something from zero, you need to do the work, the dirty work. You got to put in the hours. That's one for me. Like, if I see someone just doing things, shipping things, getting stuff out there, even when it's difficult, even when you're running another business, that for me is is a big green flag. What's one of yours?
I agree. That's a number one, I think. If there's no
You're copying my answer?
What?
You're copying my
Yeah,
answer?
it's a good answer. Because if you don't have that one thing, when you get started, it's like nothing after that matters. No buts, maybes, or nothing matters after. So yeah, work morale is number one. But I'd say one thing that I appreciate about you, so one thing that Jordan does really well, and I think everyone should look for this in a co-founder, which is a raw core personality trait, is when I told you, hey Jordan, X, Y, and Z is a weakness that you have, I want you to work on this. You didn't deflect and say, no, you didn't become defensive and try to say, no, I don't want to put time on that. You said, yeah, you're right, I need to get better on this. This thing, yeah, that's my weakness, I need to get better on it. So when I give you that type of feedback, not only are you welcoming it, but from day one, you're actually saying, okay, I'll learn this today, I'll figure it out. Yeah. And then you come back a day later and hey, I learned this about this thing that you said was my weakness. That was a big unlock for me, knowing that I have a co-founder who, when there's a weak spot or a weak link in their skill sets or their personality or behavior, I know that I can just tap you and you will take it like nothing.
Yeah. It's just self-awareness, I think, is the thing. And it's something that I've tried very, very hard to improve and get better at over the years. because I know myself, like there's some things I'm good at, there's some things I'm not so good at, or there's a lot of things I'm not so good at, right? But there's going to be hard times, and there's going to be situations that come up when you're going to have to do something, I'm going to have to do something to keep the business growing. And even if it's not something that we know, just go and learn it. Like just do it, right? There's no ifs, buts, no maybes. You just go and get it done. So yeah, quick fire round. Are you motivated by greatness or the fear of being mediocre?
By the fear of being mediocre.
Would you rather sacrifice comfort now for optionality later, or live well now and limit your upside later?
I'd rather be uncomfortable now for a greater upside later.
Would you rather have inner fulfillment and peace or external status?
Inner fulfillment of peace. That's an easy one.
Some people will say the external status.
Really?
Different people are driven by different things.
I guess so.
Powers of the world, what do they want when they get all the money? They want power, that's the next thing.
But do you think they're self-aware about it?
Yeah, I think some of them will openly admit it. Status is something that is ingrained in the human mind, but a lot of people don't realize what they do is for status. Even small things.
I think even my answer is really status. I think we all do it for selfish reasons. It's just, do you front load the selfishness or do you put the reward later? Quick fire. Would you rather have cash flow or would you rather have a lump sum after an exit?
Lump sum after an exit.
A lot of people would say cash flow for the comfort.
I guess it depends how much.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, I can also say that from a position of building a cash flow business, and it's great, it provides a great lifestyle, but I've also built a cash flow business that I can't really sell for any great multiple.
I think the way to frame it in mind is, yeah, if I make $1 million a year and I can exit a business for 3 mil, that means that I'm basically good and have cash in the bag for the next 3 years that I would otherwise earn with a passive cash flow. And the way to think about it is like, okay, am I willing to sacrifice year 4 for basically sitting on a lump sum now, but spend the next 3 years building something bigger? That's how I frame it usually when I think about, exit possibilities.
I guess also you can invest the money that you have cash flow, but at the same time, if you have, it's a timeline as well. If you have the cash flow now, okay, you say the exit, but when is that? 10 years? It's timeline and how much.
Yeah.
For me, not to really break down the question. It's a quick fire.
Okay, so this one is a bit less business oriented. Would you rather settle at a ranch out in nature or inner city?
Ranch out in nature.
Why?
I think I'll be more peaceful. And I think what we're all ultimately optimizing for is peace. Most people think that money is the vehicle to get them to the peace, but it's actually not. But money is it's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Right? Once you have it, you have options. And you have the option to not have to do the work. You're insulated against certain things. But I feel like having spent time in nature and spending time in a big city, the big city is great for the fast-moving lifestyle. It keeps you ambitious, keeps you hungry, but the nature just brings you back to peace. And ultimately, I think we're so connected to nature that it's where we should be.
Yeah, I mean, the city is the wheel, the spinning wheel, and we're all just part of that wheel because money is what powers the world. It's what will get us what we need.
It's a pendulum.
It's a pendulum, yeah.
Quote.
And outside of the city, that's where people are drawn to. Like, we want peace, we want calm. A lot of people that are building businesses, a lot of them that I've talked with, the big and the small ones, they all strive to buy a ranch, buy a farm, and just disappear. No one truly likes, deep down, the day-to-day grind. No one really does it. We're all working to have a simpler life, to have a more comfortable life at the end of the day.
And I think once you have enough, you can go out to the ranch and you can live self-sufficiently. But there's also a dark side to the building and spinning wheel, where it kind of hooks you in and it keeps you in that mindset.
Yeah.
Because it feeds you and it rewards you.
It's an odd thing.
Yeah.
Capitalism. It's an odd thing. But at the end of the day, like, human nature doesn't change. We all want the same thing, but we've been conditioned to go through a different motion than we're made for.
Yeah, I think ultimately over time, that lifestyle is going to build up a lot of stress and a lot of tension in the body. And that's not good over the long term, right?
Do you know what I sometimes think about? How different would I be, or who would I be as a person? How would I behave day to day? And how would I feel if money, capitalism, this daily grind wasn't a thing? Because if it wasn't, we probably would run agencies and do service. We wouldn't build businesses. We would do very different things. Have you ever had that thought?
I think you'd be chopping wood in the Swedish forest.
I probably would, and that would be a good one.
It's an interesting question. Do you also look back at some of the decisions you made and wonder what would have happened if you didn't make a certain decision, or if you went a different direction?
I think at the end of the day, a driven person will always go into a certain direction, but the path they choose to that direction is different based on what triggers you. So for me, a trigger was when I was young, 16, 14, 15, I watched YouTube a lot. Videos started popping up about online entrepreneurs doing day trading, e-commerce, agency work. I think that put me into the path of entrepreneurship. If I didn't get exposed to that type of content early, who knows, I maybe would have gone into finance or had a high-paying job, which would also been fine. But that's how I think. It's like something triggered me and nudged me into a certain path.
Okay.
How about yourself? Like when you think back, do you ever think about the different paths you could have taken?
I never strived to be an entrepreneur or business owner. When I was in school, for a certain period, I wanted to study law. I was very good at memorizing information, so it kind of was a path that was pointed out to me by teachers that, hey, you could be good at this thing. I think purely by chance, I came across videos on Facebook and YouTube about running a social media marketing agency. I was 16 years old, and I suddenly got this feeling inside, this ambition that there's something out here that I can do that is very, very exciting, and I never felt that before. And I remember going down to my parents that day and saying, this is what I want to do. And they were kind of like, what? Like, what? They wanted me to go to university.
Yeah.
I didn't end up going to university, whatever. But it's funny, I just knew from that moment that, and it's almost like the universe puts certain things in your way so that it can draw you to the path that you're meant to be on, right? So if I never saw those things, I probably would never have been an entrepreneur. But now I feel like I'm right where I need to be, right? Taking risk, running a team, working on things, building things, leading. That's exactly where I feel very comfortable. So I feel like, again, those things happen for a reason. And certain things are signs, and sometimes you need to ignore them, and sometimes you need to lean into them.
Yeah.
And I think I'm extremely grateful for that. And then obviously a lot of things happened over the years that, led me further down the path of meeting different people and learning from different people, that led me even deeper into specifically building a marketing agency and getting better at leading a team and all that stuff.
It is interesting, how things just pop up in front of your eyes and you're like, okay, this is what's next. I do remember when I was 14, I started seeing videos popping up on YouTube about entrepreneurship and running a company online. And for some reason, I think I maybe just environment. My initial assumption was that all of that is just a scam, some kind of scam to sell something. And in my case, I didn't have anyone in my surrounding who were an entrepreneur of any sort, or a high achiever. We had athletes and people that strive to do something in sports. That was kind of my way out, or my direction. So I think if you have that influence around you when it comes to entrepreneurship, that matters a lot because it highlights what's possible.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Also, not everyone can be an entrepreneur. And you can give two people the same information and show them the same path, but only one person will be able to see it. The other person will be very skeptical. They don't think that they can take on the risk, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's not just about the sign and showing someone, hey, here's this thing, you can start this business. It's also showing it to the right person and having the qualities. Sometimes you're born with it, sometimes it's learned through nature, nurture, right? Which one is it? I think it's a little bit of both. But I think about those things a lot. What's the most important thing in life?
Wow. Easy question. Most important thing in life. I don't think there is the most important thing in life. I think it's to every person. I mean, I'd say one thing, it's surviving. If you want to get to the basics. If you can survive, that's great. But in terms of purpose, what's most important is individual. For one person, their kids might be the most important thing in life. For another, their career. Another one, their sports team is the most important thing in life. Like, there's no right and wrong at the end of the day. For me, the most important thing in my life is just to find a long-term purpose at the moment. That's what's most important for me at this point in time. At the moment, it's building the businesses I'm building, hiring and working with the greatest people, and eventually having a family. And then once I have a family, I'll probably have a better answer for what the most important things in life are.